What's going on, guys? Kevin here from thesportsgeek.com, and in this video I'm going to go over my DraftKings and FanDuel NFL Week 13 picks. Alright, so before we get on to Week 13, just want to do a quick little Week 12 recap. Usually I recap my picks, but last week was a little different with the Thanksgiving video and then my picks in an article. Overall, my Thanksgiving picks were pretty decent. I had some good ones outlined in the video. And the picks in my article didn't do too well. I had a couple good picks and then a couple really bad picks, including Amari Cooper, who ruined a lot of my lineups, and Gary Barnidge was my tight end play that I really liked last week that ruined some lineups. So pretty good Thanksgiving slate. Not a great Sunday slate, but some people here sent me some great emails. We have Scott here. He said he tied for second in the $3 Wishbone, so that was a Thanksgiving contest. And you can see his payout there, over $4,000, just under $5,000. And he had a huge score, 205 points on Thursday. And then I got an email from John. He cashed on 11 of his 15 $12 lineups and won $4,770. So congrats to those two guys. Congrats to everyone else who emailed me or tweeted at me. And if you didn't last week, hopefully this week 13 is your week. All right, so on to my Week 13 picks, and this week I'm going to be doing things a little bit differently. You guys can let me know in the comment section of YouTube if you guys enjoy this way better, or if you enjoy it how I used to do it with the text beside each player. So for this week's video, I'm going to be including some screenshots from Fantasy Labs. So we've got some trends and some game logs that we're going to be looking at. And I'll just be kind of talking about it. I've got my other screen pulled up here, and I'll just kind of talk about each pick that I have listed. So first off, we got a QB wide receiver stack. We got Ben Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown. Roethlisberger 7,400 at DraftKings. Antonio Brown is 9,100. So pretty expensive, but they've got a good matchup. They're at home versus the Giants. So the Giants aren't awful defensively at all. They're actually above average, but the total in this game is up at 48.5 points. It opened at 50. Dropped 1.5 points, but it's still a high total above 48. And the Steelers are favored by 6 points. So they're expected to score a lot of points. And you can see over the last 3 years, I've got a trend pulled up for both Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown. The last 3 years when they're playing at home with a high total of 48 points or higher, Roethlisberger is averaging 28 DraftKings points, closer to 29. And Antonio Brown is averaging over 29 DraftKings points. So we've got a pretty high total in this game. They're at home, and usually they do some damage at home. So I'm expecting a big game from these two, and I really like them this week for an expensive quarterback wide receiver stack. And then we've got a bit cheaper of a quarterback wide receiver stack here. We got Russell Wilson, who's 6,300, paired with Doug Baldwin, who's 6,700. The Seahawks are going to be hosting the Panthers on Sunday Night Football. The game does have a lower total at 44.5 points, but the Seahawks are favored by 7 points. So they're still expected to score quite a few points. We've got their implied team total currently at 25.8 points. The Panthers are pretty poor against the pass this year, actually, ranking 25th in yards against per pass attempt. So they're doing decent against the run, but they struggle against the pass. And Russell Wilson has been throwing the ball pretty well. Over the last 4 games, you can see I've got the Fantasy Labs game log screenshot there. Besides last week in Tampa Bay, where he was pressured a ton, his 3 prior games, he put up 25, 29, and 26 DraftKings points. And he's been running the ball pretty well lately, too. It looks like he's healthy, his knee's better, and he's been putting up some big fantasy scores. You can see Doug Baldwin there. He's been pretty consistent. Only 2 games over 20 DraftKings points, but those were 29.9 and 22 DraftKings points. He's got high upside. He's the number 1 receiver in Seattle, and I think he has a big game against Carolina in prime time on Sunday night. So I really like this stack for a cheaper stack if you want to save some money. So those are probably my 2 top stacks so far this week. My first running back play here is Jordan Howard from the Bears. He's $6,900 on DraftKings this week. And the Bears are going to be at home versus the 49ers, and they are 1-point favorites. We do have a lower total set at 43.5 points, but it's not low enough where I'm really worried. Chicago should still put up some points, and I expect some of those points to come on the ground from Howard, hopefully. You can see in the top screenshot there, I've got a little trend that I created at Fantasy Labs. I wanted to see how opposing running backs were doing against San Francisco, so I filtered out San Fran. I put the players' projected points for 15 and above, and you can see there the average DraftKings score was 23.12 points. And if you look at Howard's last 4 games, He's rushed the ball 18, 17, 15, and 26 times. And the worst he's done for rushing yards per attempt was 4.5. And he's had a couple games, one at 5.9, one at 6.7. So he's been really effective on the ground. And the Bears have done a good job running the ball. And now they're facing maybe the worst run defense in the NFL. So I expect Jordan Howard to have a big game. He's one of my top running backs this week. The other running back I have here is more of a tournament or GPP play. It's a little risky with the Patriots running back by committee, but I like Dion Lewis this week. He's just $3,800 on DraftKings. The Patriots are at home versus the Rams. We've got a total at 44.5 points in that game, but the Patriots are 13.5 points, and that brings their implied team total to 29.5 points. So they're expected to score close to 30 points, and I expect Dion Lewis to get in on the action. At least a little bit in New England, and he could explode for a pretty big game. You can see his 2 games in the bottom screenshot there coming off his injury. He's only ran the ball 5 and 6 times, but he's rushed for over 4 yards per attempt, and he's also been targeted 5 and 7 times in those 2 games, and that was with under 40% of the snaps. I expect his snap count or his snap percentage to continue to rise in New England. And if you look at the top screenshot there, you can see anytime Dion Lewis last year was projected to put up 8 or more DraftKings points, he averaged 17.31 DraftKings points over, I believe it was about 6 or 7 games, I think. So I think we can expect a pretty big game from Dion Lewis. Maybe not a monster game, but if he puts up 17 points like he's averaged last year when he's been projected for 8 or more, we'd be more than happy with that. So I like Dion Lewis at 3,800 as a GPP play. Another receiver that I like that will probably be pretty popular, Michael Thomas from the Saints, 6,900 this week on DraftKings. This game in general is going to be pretty popular. We've got Detroit at New Orleans, the highest total of the week at 53.5 points. And money looks to be coming in on the over, so that might get up to 54 points by kickoff. Expected to be a very high scoring game. The Saints are favored by 6 points. A lot of people are going to be all over Drew Brees. A lot of people are going to be on Michael Thomas and all of the other receivers for the Saints and maybe even the tight ends as well for good reason. And I definitely won't be fading that game. I'll definitely have a little bit of some of the players on both sides of the ball, and that includes probably my favorite play here in Michael Thomas. I've got 2 screenshots up here. The top one is when the Saints are favored, Michael Thomas averages 19.4 DraftKings points. And then what I found interesting is the 2 games that the Saints have been favored by more than a field goal, he's averaged 29.55 DraftKings points. So when the Saints are basically expected to score quite a few points, Michael Thomas seems to get in on the action. And I expect that in the Superdome here, week 13 against the Lions. This next play here is a GPP flyer pick, so I won't have too much exposure to this guy. He is risky, but I will throw him in some tournament lineups. It's wide receiver Adam Humphries from the Bucs. He's $3,600 on DraftKings. The Bucs are in San Diego, and we've got a pretty decently high total at 47.5 points. The Bucs are only 3.5 point underdogs, so they're expected to put up some points. And San Diego pretty much always has a shadow on the opponent's number 1 receiver. And Mike Evans should be shadowed this week. You can see the top screenshot there was taken from the Fantasy Labs matchup tool. Casey Hayward, who is a good cornerback for San Diego, should be shadowing Mike Evans. So Evans gets downgraded a little bit. I still think he could have a good game, but that does open up some room for other guys to get some targets. And I think Adam Humphries might be the beneficiary of that. He's just 3,600, and I created a trend there on Fantasy Labs that you can see in the bottom screenshot. I wanted to see how cheap wide receivers, so 4,000 and below, did against San Diego when they were projected to score 8 or more DraftKings points. And you can see there's 4 matches there, and the average of those 4 was 15.3 DraftKings points. So pretty good. If Humphries could get us 15 points for 3,600, I think that'd be a good play, and anything above that would be a bonus. So I think I'm going to throw him in a couple lineups. I wouldn't have more than like maybe 10 or 15% exposure to him because he is definitely very risky, but I think he could have a big game, and he's going to be my cheap GPP flyer pick. My tight end play of the week is going to be Vernon Davis from the Redskins at $3,300 on DraftKings, and this is only a play if Jordan Reed is out for week 13, but there was a report here on Thursday that Jordan Reed is going to be sitting out week 13. So we definitely want to make sure that Jordan Reed is out before we play Davis, but I will be emailing out an update if anything changes. So make sure you guys are on my email update list. If you're not already, just click on the lineup tool link in the YouTube description below, and I'll give out another tight end play for sure if Jordan Reed somehow is playing. But the reports are that he's not going to play week 13. So that's something to watch for sure. But Vernon Davis will become probably my top tight end play if Jordan Reed's out. The Redskins are at Arizona. The game has a total set at 49.5 points, and the Redskins are only 2.5 point underdogs, meaning their implied team total is 23.5 points. So they're expected to score a lot of points. You can see Vernon Davis's game log there in the top screenshot. He's put up 9, 0, 14, 11, 10, and 12 DraftKings points. And most of those games were with Jordan Reed playing. So he was the second tight end in a lot of those games, and he's still putting up some pretty solid DraftKings scores. So with Reed out, I expect a big game from him. If you look at his targets and receptions, he's been catching pretty much everything thrown to him. A couple touchdowns in there and a couple really long receptions. So he's been a great player. And you can see the bottom screenshot there. Anytime a Redskins tight end has been projected for 10 or more points, when they were the underdog, they averaged 18.54 DraftKings points. So obviously that was Jordan Reed's production, but Vernon Davis can step in and basically take over that same role. He's been looking great so far this year. I wouldn't be surprised if he matched that with about somewhere around 18 DraftKings points in what's expected to be a high-scoring game. So I really like Vernon Davis at tight end this week if Jordan Reed is out. Make sure you watch the news and sign up for my email updates if you're not already on the list. And then my favorite value defense for week 13 is going to be the Dolphins at $2,600 on DraftKings. Miami is at Baltimore. They're 3-point underdogs, but we've got a low total set at just 40.5 points. So I don't mind taking underdog defenses, especially if the game total is this low. And you can see the game log there in the top screenshot for the Dolphins over the last 4 games. They've put up 6, 7, 17, and 13 DraftKings points. And over that span, over that 4-game span, they've had 7 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles, and 9 sacks. So they've been playing pretty well defensively lately. They're going up against Joe Flacco, who is known to throw interceptions, and his game log there is in the bottom screenshot. Over his last 5 games, he's thrown 6 interceptions, and he's thrown at least 1 interception in 4 of his last 5 games. So I think the Dolphins are a great play at DraftKings at $2,600 this week. And that wraps up my DraftKings and FanDuel NFL Week 13 picks. If you guys want to win more money at DraftKings or FanDuel this year, make sure you sign up for Fantasy Labs. They're the best tools out there. As you guys probably saw from this video, you can get tons of useful information. If you don't have an account at Fantasy Labs, I've got my link in the YouTube description below. Check them out. And if you enjoyed this video, please click that thumbs up or like button. It will help support my YouTube channel and let me know to keep making these videos weekly. As always, guys, good luck in your contest this week. Hope you make some money. Cheers. If you don't want to miss out on any videos that I post, I would love for you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. To do that, just click on this button over here. Or if you want to watch another one of my videos that I think you'll enjoy, click on the video image over here.